So today we're going to talk about value scales, and blending. First, I'm going to start off by sketching a rectangle long enough to fit about 7 squares. Then I'm going to divide that rectangle into 7 different squares. Now I'll begin adding value into these squares, starting with one of my lightest values, and I'm shading very softly using soft pressure on the pencil, and I'm shading in oval motions. Although the video is going fast, it's not just left to right. And while you shade, you want to make sure you're using soft pressure and you're building up layers. So you've seen me go left to right in circular motions. Now I'm going vertically in circular motions, doing about 1 to 2 layers per shade. I'm going to continue shading in circular motions the darker this shade gets, and I'll just make sure that I keep varying my pressure and doing multiple layers. Now around box 5, 6, and 7, although I'm shading in circular motions, I'm now starting to add a little more pressure to my pencil and doing more layers. Now my next task after this is to create a value scale using only blending. I'm going to sketch a rectangle again about 7 squares in length, but I'm not actually going to separate it into 7 squares, but I am going to add little notches to remind me where the values go. Now you see me adding value by applying very soft, light pressure to my pencil and shading in circular motions. The key to adding value and building value is to always work from light to dark. So I am starting with soft pressure, but I'm also doing multiple layers on top of my light shading. You'll see me doing that going from left to right. And as my colors get darker, I am going to start adding a little more pressure down the line. At this point, to create darker values, I am pressing a lot more harder on my paper, but not hard enough to dig into or rip my paper up. I'm also applying harder pressure in circular motions and doing multiple layers. The next activity I want you to do is to sketch a sphere, and I want you to divide that sphere into 5 little pieces. That's going to be 5 different values that we create on this sphere. And we're going to use the same techniques as in the value scale on this sphere, but no blending. We're starting with light pressure, and this area is known as a highlight. This is the area where light hits the object. The next area we're shading is called midtone or midtones. An object can have multiple midtones, and in this case, I'll have 2. This next area I'm shading is the core shadow. A core shadow is basically where light is blocked on the object. Now I'm moving on to the cast shadow. The cast shadow is usually created when light is blocking the object and the object is now reflecting a shadow onto a surface. This next step is to create a reflective light onto my sphere. So a reflective light is created when light bounces off of a surface back onto an object. The last activity we're going to do is to create a sphere and shade it using blending methods. So just like we did earlier, I want you to add value by starting with soft pressure using circular motions and making sure you build that value up by doing multiple layers. Now, throughout this video, you're going to see me use something called a tortillon to blend my values and make them look a little more smoothly. A tortillon is a piece of wrapped up paper that you can use to blend. This one is something I made, but you can buy them from the store, Amazon, etc. You can also use Q-tips or paper towel to blend, but I do not recommend using your finger because the oils will just make it messy. When I'm blending objects and trying to make something look more realistic, I work in small sections instead of trying to shade it all in one go. It helps me because then I can clearly see my value and tone changes.